Did you know that the opening ceremonies were going on today for the Winter Olympics?
Saw it on Twitter. Could not care any less than I do. You guys get on me about the international soccer. The Olympics, could not care less. The fact that they're in China makes it worse for me. I have zero interest.
So I'm going to go a little bit of Gallo here, but I think all of you listening will appreciate my stance on this. I think, anyway, based on what I know about our audience. Hear more on Monday at 6 if you'd like. But I'm a big international sports fan. I love this country. I'm kind of one of those patriots, if you will, that if you have USA on your chest,
I want to be an American.
Damn right. Greatest country in the world.
Knows he's free.
If you are wearing USA on your chest and you're competing in something, I want you to win, and I'll watch you do it. I love stories like Suni Lee from the summer, the gymnast.
Speaking of
daughter of immigrants. Speaking of Auburn, daughter of immigrants. And her family didn't have a lot of money as she was growing up, but she wanted to be a gymnast, and her dad wanted her to chase her dreams, so he built her gymnastics equipment in their yard with whatever he could find because they couldn't afford the swanky gym memberships and stuff that some of these athletes get afforded to them. 18 years old, she becomes the greatest gymnast in the world. It's an awesome story. Awesome. So I eat that kind of stuff up. So I watch the Olympics every year. I don't miss it. I put on the opening ceremonies this morning on NBC. And it's not the Chinese feed of NBC, although it's one video feed that's going out to the world. We don't have our own camera people there, but it's NBC and NBC broadcasters, Savannah Guthrie being one of them. And I turn it on, and it's during the Parade of Nations. And China is like the third country that does their walkthrough. Perfect timing for me this morning. And the American broadcasters for NBC spent their time talking about how the president of China, President Xi, works really hard to improve China's standing in international athletics. That he really cares about his legacy in sports. That's what they talked about. Glowing conversation about China's improvement in athletics and the president of the country and his legacy in international sports. And not too terribly long after that, American broadcasters, people from this country working for NBC, just outright said Chinese propaganda on the air about carbon neutrality. They were sharing dictators' talking points and speaking of him glowingly on American television. His legacy in sports, how hard he's worked to improve the image of China in international sports. What else has he done, NBC? I understand that you've got to broadcast the Olympics and China is hosting it, and that was not NBC's decision. You don't have to praise a murderous dictator on the air in this country. You're not there. Savannah Guthrie's not in China. She doesn't have to fear for her life like our athletes do, by the way. She doesn't have to. She's right here in New York City, baby. She can say whatever she wants. I get that you're broadcasting the event. You don't have to spread a dictator's propaganda to us. And I know they're not going to miss my click, but I turn it off. I'm not going to sit here in this country and let them spew communist propaganda to me. So I turn it off. I am one of those people, and I'll watch our hockey team in particular. It's a bunch of college kids. I'll watch it. So I'm kind of a hypocrite here. I have an iPhone. I'm kind of a hypocrite here because I own stuff that was made in China. But please spare me the legacy conversation from President Xi. Spare me. It's a joke, especially when you've got the person that is third in line to be president of the United States, by the way. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, is third in line to be president. Two people in front of her. That's it. And the other day in a press conference, she is warning our athletes not to speak up because they will be punished in China. Third in line. Our third most powerful person in this country is telling our athletes to shut up and skate. It's pathetic. What I heard this morning from NBC was pathetic. It was regurgitating, I should say, vomiting Chinese propaganda in this country. The same place where our third in line is telling our athletes to shut up and skate because if you speak out, they are brutal. I think was her direct quote. I could be wrong. I'm one of the few people that engages deeply in international sports. Olympics, I love it. And honestly, I've said all this and I'll still probably watch it. Some of it. The hockey especially. I love hockey. I want to see a bunch of 18-year-olds beat the Russians. That sounds awesome to me. But if you're losing me, and by the way, the ratings numbers are pathetic so far, down 55% from the last Winter Olympics, the opening ceremonies were, they'll learn eventually, I hope. Because again, what I heard this morning, I'm just one guy in Mississippi. They don't care about me anyway. They're based in New York. They couldn't care less about the real world like the one we live in. But they lost me. If you're losing me, you're losing a lot. I thought it was pathetic and embarrassing, and everybody at NBC should be ashamed of what they said on the air in this country this morning. Tune in to Gallo at 6 on Monday for more.